we are back. Thank you for joining in to the VET S.O.S show. It's brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab your VET S.O.S life preserver and make sure that you're getting the help that you require. So we are back. Dr. Alfredo Torres is here. I want to give you an introduction to Dr. Torres.
I'm
Thank
not
you
a doctor.
Oh, not doctor. Sorry, I've got Dr. Soto. Got Dr. Soto on my mind. Mr. Alfredo Torres. Mr. Alfredo Torres. He's the Virginia V3 Transitional Regional Coordinator for the Central and Western Region and the candidate coordinator for Higher Vets Now Fellowship Program. It's the first DoD-approved state skill bridge program, by the way. He's experienced in professional military and educational career coaching, mentoring, and counseling, and a 13-year Navy veteran who's had a very eclectic and very post-military career. He's been a radio personality, EMT, academic advisor, safety inspector, blogger, military admissions advisor. Oh my goodness, there's so many more on this list. I can't even rattle them all off here in the amount of time that we have. So thank you, our esteemed guest, Mr. Alfredo Torres. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I have to switch to my phone because the computer is a piece of garbage. And so, you had the wonderful Dr. Soto on, incredible person. I would reach back out to him, tell him to use his phone.
And I know we've had you on before, and I think that was the key to the other success that we had. So great to have you join in with us, and great to hear you and see you this time. So
yes, exactly.
Let's jump in. So in the work that you're doing, you've done so much, right? And you're giving back. You are paying it forward, right? And so you're a walking testimony to what this show is about. What got you started? Why are you doing this? Why are you so passionate about helping and giving back in this way?
I had the worst transition in the world. I know Dr. Soto said he had. No, it was me. It was me. And we can go back and forth. At least he got a retirement. I was medically booted, and so I after 13 years, and I always break it down to one thing. Now, mind you, I got out in 2005. Okay, and we didn't have all the stuff that you guys have today, but it came down to me to being arrogant. Everything, and I just did a post on LinkedIn about this not too long ago. It's arrogance, the arrogance of I'm a veteran, so everybody's gonna kiss my behind to give me a job, and they're all lined up outside the door, and everyone's gonna pat me on the back, and oh, you're great, you're on here. And then after that, after I realized that wasn't the truth, then the arrogance and the pride to go seek help, deal with my mental issues, to deal with the fact that I was homeless. Um, to say I'm too proud to work at McDonald's. What do you mean I'm going to work at McDonald's? Are you kidding me? I defended this country. I stormed the beaches of Normandy. Damn it! No, man. Again, it's arrogance. It's pride. That's what it all comes down to.
Well, let's ask a question there, because that's one thing that came up in part in our last episode, which is the mental health side of it, right? Mm-hmm. And we just, with Dr. Soto, right, talking about being vulnerable and how that might shift somebody's view, right, of themselves. Sure. And so not only the outward view that people may see them as, but their internal view. So right, your id and your ego. So tell us more, like, what challenges did you go through during your transition? I mean, psychologically, mental health wise. I mean, you had a pretty difficult transition. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. And Sean, I'm going to use you as a kind of as a mirror, because you're still active duty. Okay. And Sean, you tell me if as I say this, you tell me if this rings true today. Okay. First thing is, it starts with being in the military and getting into this, being taught, you're going to do 20, you're going to get your MBA or your PMP or both. you're going to get the contractor job in the GS-13, and they're going to love you as soon as you get out. Right? So that's the mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in my case, Sean's going to retire, but in my case, I got medically booted and found out that my mind wasn't ready for that not to happen. Okay. Sean's lucky that he started early, again, because of my medical stuff. It came out of nowhere. Not that I would have started early anyway, because it was a different mindset back then. But now comes all the other things that add on to that sudden, oh my God, nobody's there. It's and there's different layers, right? So it's first off, I'm a service member, I'm a veteran. So I got to show strength because people outside have the certain image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's add on to that I'm an NCO. Now, you can be a senior NCO or an officer, doesn't matter. You're a leader. And so you can't show weakness because you got people underneath you who are looking to you for strength and inspiration. So when things are sucking, you got to keep it down. Now, let's add to that. In my case, I come from a background, a different ethnic background, which teaches you at an early age that you're a man. You don't complain, you don't cry, you just do things. So you add all that, right, and you take away some of the most important things like communication. And it's a setup. It's a setup because you can only put so much into you and not let it out before it all blows up. And Sean, let me ask you this question. I don't know how I know you started early, but I don't know how much you're communicating. Do you find that helps you as you're going through this transition? People reassuring you, being able to talk to your peers and realize that they're going through the same thing so that you don't feel alone. Is that something that you do?
Oh, definitely. I think, talking with people like mentors like yourself, Veterati is a huge tool, reaching out to those people who have been there, have done it, reaching out to them and having those calls, using programs like ACP and Commit Foundation, where you have a assigned mentor. Just had a great conversation yesterday with my Commit mentor, reassuring me, hey, you're doing this right, you're doing that right. Hey, let's take a look at this. Maybe we change some things here. And then one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved in doing this show was the peer conversations. So many of my peers still have no idea what they're doing, no idea what's going on. And, you start talking, hey, have you gone to VETS Industry? What's that? All right, dude, let's go look at the computer. You need to get into some of their networking events. You got 50 strong, get into their networking events. Have you been to the USO to talk to the Pathfinder program? And between my peers and then just my soldiers, I got some young captains that are getting out. They're done. They don't want to continue. Even they don't have a clue. So you start talking to them about these things. And I think that's a responsibility of every leader. We need to share that information. So, that's what's great about this community is we got people who have long since transitioned that are still coming out here and telling us. So, I mean, people like you doing great things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But think about all that, what you just said. Now take it 17 years ago when I got out, none of that existed. Plus the culture is changing. Okay. I'm not a touchy-feely guy, believe it or not. But by the same token, the culture has made it okay to say that, you're vulnerable, to say that you're scared, to say that you're stressed out, to say you don't know the answer, and to admit it. And this is a big shift.
Yes.
In how you transition. And as far as what's out there, I don't blame people for not knowing what's out there. Look, you guys talked about Boom Boom. I never heard of it. I never heard of it before 45 minutes ago. Okay. And then the way you utilize it, right? The way to say thank you, the way to connect with an employer, the way to remind the employer of your name and your face,
Right.
you know, like, hey, oh yeah, I remember him, and how you can look again, another way for you to show your passion, show your personality, which might be difficult to show on a piece of paper. So I never heard of it, and now as soon as you guys mentioned it, 35 different thousand ways of how to utilize it were running through my head. Thank you. More stuff I got to figure out so I can, give to people. But the the point is that there's so much out there, and there's so much out there that is constantly changing. It's hard for a guy like Sean who's transitioning to know it all. So
Well,
how can he pass it on to someone else?
right. So where do you start? Right. In your coaching folks, right, and helping people
Mhm.
through V3, where do you tell them to start? Maybe can you walk us through like that process that you help
Okay,
someone with?
sure. And again, I'll take Sean as the example, and I'm not picking on you. you know, just to let you know that if Mark was transitioning, I'd be on him too. Okay. Um, but so the first thing I'd say is, so what do you want? That would literally be the first thing, because it starts with there. I can't. Or what good is any advice I'm going to give you if I don't know what you want? If I don't know where you want to go to, right? Now, normally, a guy like Sean in Sean's position, without the foresight to have started early, would say, "I don't know." Okay. At that point, now we start to dig a little bit, right? Um, uh, well, what do you like? What don't you like? And everything is geared to trying to take it from that 180,000 foot view to the block, not I mean to the house, not even the neighborhood or the city, but to the house. Um, so uh, where do you want to live? What do you see? Give me your perfect scenario. Tell me what your perfect life is,
Mm-hmm.
and then once we get that kind of thing going, now we start to see, okay, what steps can we utilize? Who can we connect you to? And then there's a lot of other things bonus. But this is, if you do a minimum, you got to talk to these people. You got to look up this instruction. You got to find out about this program. Because everything that's out there is great, and everything that's out there sucks. It all depends on whether you can utilize it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sean has heard it. I don't know if you've heard it, Mark. The my buffet analogy.
Mm. I don't think.
No,
I think I'm not sure we talked about that last time.
okay. So here's what transition is. Transition is a buffet. Now, of course, I'm a fat guy, so I love to eat. So of course, I'm going to tie it into food. But transition is a buffet. You walk into a buffet and you see all of this incredible food, and it all looks good, but you're not going to eat all of it, are you? No. You're going to go and you're going to pick some protein, and you're going to pick some starches and some vegetables, and you're going to mix and match. Maybe you have macaroni and cheese with fried rice. Who the hell does that? But that's what you want, right? That's what you want. Maybe you have pork chop with custard. Disgusting to me, but maybe that's what you want. Then you sit down and you eat. Um, uh, and if you're full, success. And if it's garbage, disgusting. You go and you try something else. And if you're not full, maybe you go back and maybe what it needed was a little more custard or some corn or whatever. The point is, there's so much out there. You guys talk about drowning in the sea of goodwill, which is that's exactly how I describe it. You don't have to listen to everything I say. or listen to everything that Dr. Soto says, or the Pathfinders, or you don't have to. You can pick and choose a little bit of Alfredo, a little bit of Dr. Soto, a little bit of Pathfinders, a little bit of VET S.O.S industry, and make your own plate. And that's, you know, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you see that I always, my first hashtag, own your transition. And that's what owning your transition is. It's making your plate. When I talk to people, I tell them there's three things that you can do with my advice. You can say, oh my God, Alfredo's the greatest, smartest guy in the world. I'm going to listen to everything he says. I wouldn't do that. You could say, wow, Alfredo's full of crap. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The hell with him. I'm not listening to anything. Or number three, which is what I always recommend, is listen and say, you know what, Alfredo made some good points, but point 1, 4, 5, and 8 really resonated to what I'm going through. That's what I'm going to take, and I'm going to add that to my transition toolbox. And now I'm going to go and talk to Mark. Okay, Mark, blah, 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 blah. Same thing. Mark gave me, 10 things. Number 2, number 7, and number 3 really resonated to my transition. Now I'm going to put it over here to my transition box. See what I'm saying? This is making your plate. This is the buffet.
Talk about dropping bombs. So you have just said a ton, right?
That's right. Talk a lot.
No, no. I'm saying, you know, of value. You just said a ton of value. So yes, absolutely. You're taking your pieces and you're crafting your own transition. I love that transition toolbox, right? Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's skill set is different. So you have to craft that. That's unique to you. But also, I think at the very beginning of your analogy, right, the thought popped into my head that, look, guys, even if you have your specialty, your AFSC, your MOS, whatever you want to call it, your skill set, your training in the military, even if you are still looking to use that in the civilian sector, if it's a transferable skill, the world is wide open. When you're being asked, what do you want? Right? And Alfredo's coaching you, or you're getting coached in that way, and you don't know, and that answer is, which I would imagine, Alfredo, is the answer often no, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I got no idea.
That's probably the majority of the time. So that's not necessarily a negative, right? That you don't know what you want to do. That's an extreme positive in the fact that you get to create your new environment. But if you don't have direction, if you don't have help getting that direction, you know, and that's what you're there for, right, Alfredo?
Right. It's just like getting out of high school. You know, you're getting out of the military. The whole world is your oyster. The difference between high school and getting out of the military is you've been around the world a couple of times. You've had some experiences. So now you need to utilize it. And as far as trying to figure it out, well, you know, let me ask you, Mark. You were in the military. What were you?
I was an airman. I left as a senior airman.
Okay, as a senior airman.
And I was a medic in the Air Force.
Right. So you were a medic and a senior airman. As a senior airman, that's a what? E4? E4. Okay, so no, you were still probably hands-on. Sean, what are you now?
E8.
You're an E8, and what are you?
Army Intel Analyst.
Intel Analyst. Here's a better example. So Intel Analyst. When's the last time that you analyzed Intel?
About 10 years ago.
Okay, so you're still identifying yourself as an Intel Analyst. So if I would say, Sean, what are you? You're gonna go Intel Analyst. I'm gonna say you're a liar. That's the first thing I say. I say, no, you're not. You haven't analyzed any Intel in 10, 12 years.
Nope.
So now, a lot of times they go, wow, and this is a problem in the military. You identify yourself as what your MOS rating, whatever you want to call it, rank, some people will do. And so again, you got the blinders on. So everything you're thinking about deals with Intel Analysts because that's what you identify as. Now, Mark, how long have you been out?
I've been out 20, let's see, going on 25 years.
So you see how when I was talking to Mark, he didn't identify as the medic. And now, granted, you didn't know where I was going, so you started with the rank and stuff, but you didn't identify as a medic. And actually, you had more reason to identify as a medic because you were still doing medic stuff. Now, here's where that's significant. Sean identifies as an intel analyst, hasn't done it in 10 years. Well, what do you want to do when you get out? I don't know. Well, what are you? I'm an intel analyst. Well, you want to do that? No. What have you done over the last 10 years? You've led programs, right? You've had, in the Navy, we call them collateral duties. I think you guys call them additional duties. You've had that. All of these things have given you new skill sets, which now you got to take away this, I'm an intel analyst, and you got to look at what skill sets you've done. You've got to open that aperture. Okay. I started as a submarine yeoman in the Navy, which is a glorified secretary, and then I became a aviation storekeeper, which is doing logistics for the aviation side. Did that for total of 13 years. When I got out, I identified as an aviation storekeeper. So what was I supposed to do when I get out? Get a logistics job, right? Because that's what I did. I didn't want to do that. So after piddling around, homeless and all the rest of that stuff, when the post 9/11 GI Bill came back, I went back to school. And being a career coach and a career counselor and a mentor really resonated with me, because people tell me I have an incredible story.
Yes, you do. Yes,
yeah,
you do.
yeah. Well, that and $4.99 will get me a cup of coffee over at a Starbucks. But the thing is, I started to realize how you know what? So I've got the skills to do this. But where the hell did these skills come from? They came from 13 years of a collateral duty in the Navy called career counselor. They came from 9 years of being a shipboard instructor, of being in the Navy, we call them a training petty officer, where I had to sit there and do lesson plans and make them relatable. So I refined all these skills in the Navy, but I never thought about them because I identified as an aviation storekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you gotta get away from identifying as an aviation storekeeper, from identifying as a master chief or a sergeant major or a captain or a lieutenant, or you got to get away from that and realize, okay, what have I done? Not what do you do, not what are you, but what have you done? Because this is what's going to allow you to again open the aperture, and it's going to allow you to start pulling out these skills that you didn't think you had.
So let me ask you a question along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship prep right now for the cohort in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Several of these companies use automated websites where you put in your MOS. So you got me thinking there, because my only option is 35 Fox Intel Analyst. So then it kicks out all these jobs.
Is it?
Well,
I want you to think about your additional duties. What have you done? And all of those have a MOS or what we call them NEC, Navy, whatever classification. I don't know. I've been out for a decade and a half. But you put in that MOS, and you got to understand that, again, those jobs are going to pop out for something you haven't done in 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that something that you want to do?
No.
Well, then why are you putting in that MOS?
So I've looked. I looked down the whole list. And some of the websites use the very specific MOS only, and there's none of those additional duties that fall in there. And
right.
As an Intel guy, a lot of mine are security related.
Of course, because they want that security clearance that you got.
Yeah, and if it says security, it has to be the intel guy's job. So
Sure.
but it's just it strikes me as odd because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I haven't done it in 10 years. I don't want to do it. It was only to me. I only enjoyed it while I was deployed, where you're making a real difference.
Sure.
But I would like to switch gears real quick for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have a busy day. You came on here with me today, and then this afternoon you got the next Vets to Industry networking event, which
Right.
unfortunately I'm not going to be able to make. I'm prepping for summer camp tomorrow morning with the Boy Scouts.
Right.
Sorry, I'm going to miss it. But tell us a little bit about Vets to Industry.
So Vets to Industry is a nonprofit organization that is there to provide a listing of resources to help you out. One of the main things that they do, which is incredible, is they host a networking event in which they invite transitioning service members, veterans, military spouses, resource providers, recruiters, educational representatives to come together, and they will all get a chance to speak. And then you go into these rooms to network and to start talking to each other, practice your elevator pitch. It's a 5-hour event that goes by like 45 minutes. It flies by, and the connections that you make are so valuable. But like I heard you guys say earlier, they're only valuable if you do the following. You've got to make yourself a human. Okay? Networking is not it's not about just connecting. It's about building a relationship. Okay? It's about making Sean about taking him from a intel analyst in the Army to Sean, who likes Tennessee, who's moving to Florida. Ooh, hiss, should be moving to Virginia. No, Florida's a great place. But you see what I'm saying? I've taken him from generic to Johnny Soldier to Sean. I've made him a person who I now can relate to, who I now have a relationship with, who I am more likely to help than intel analyst, generic soldier, okay, who didn't take any time. So that's what networking is. People make it to be this big to do that's scary. It's not, man. It's meeting people and talking to them. We do that every day. We do everywhere from the supermarket, obviously in bars and clubs, to the library. Wherever we go, we're talking to people, and the people we like, we continue to talk to.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the scariest thing about Vets to Industry is that 5-hour
Oh yeah.
number there. And I'll tell you from experience, it goes so fast because I know I skipped the very first one I registered for, going, man, I don't have 5 hours to give. And then I made the next one. I was like, why did I miss the last one? This is amazing. It goes by so fast. And one of the reasons why I'm volunteering with them now, it's just an amazing organization.
Oh, good.
So yeah, I'm part of the research team, trying to, because I like doing the research and finding other organizations and sharing the information. So to me, it's a way to give back because there's 40,000 organizations. I don't need to go start one, just give back to some of the other ones.
Hallelujah that you said that, because people are, I want to start a nonprofit. Well, you know how hard it is to start a nonprofit? Better to take your talents and your passion and go to an existing one. If you don't like the big ones, find a small one. There's plenty of small ones who could use the help. Okay, Vets to Industry is one of them, with 70,000 people, followers. It's still a small organization. But yeah, it flies by. I did the same thing the first time. Someone invited me. I'm like, oh God, 5 hours. Jesus Christ, here we go. And I'm sitting there, and look, I don't ever want to do anything. Like the lead up, I hate. Being there, I love. So like even this, I didn't want to do this. I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm obligated because I don't like to obligate myself, right? I don't know how I'm gonna feel when I get up. And so the lead up I hate, but then it starts, and then the energy and the encouragement and the opportunities, and you just see all of this. And then when you get into the little breakout rooms that they have, and you start to realize I'm not alone. Here's this EA in the Army who's getting ready to transition out, and here I am, the E4 in the Air Force, and we're both feeling the same thing. Yep. And here's this major from the Marine Corps, and all of us are feeling the same thing. And that's where, that's part of the magic happening. Yeah. Is because once you realize you're not alone, now you got people you can talk to.
Absolutely.
And once you start 1, talking, bam.
Yeah, 1,000%. I know we're getting down to time here, and Alfredo, man, just so many bombs you're dropping along the way here. Just nuggets of knowledge.
Scorched earth, brother. Scorched earth, man.
Man. Let me tell you. I know that. Look, I can talk to you forever and listen to you talk forever because you're so impactful in the way that you're just sharing these golden nuggets. So, but at any rate, I do want to make sure that we highlight. So you're with V3, right? Virginia Transitional Regional Coordinator.
Okay, let me straighten that out.
Yeah,
I'm with the Virginia Department of Veteran Services. V3, Virginia Values Veterans, is a program that helps companies become certified as veteran friendly. I'm in V3 transition.
Right.
Okay. I help the service members and can connect them to the V3 certified companies.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about that in closing, right? Because that's huge. That is huge. As people are coming through, right, the program, and this is all about the who you know, right? Because it is about who you know. So, and you've talked about this before, and I think that was one of your closing statements. So, as listeners are hearing your message, as they've heard your story, if they want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
LinkedIn.
All right.
LinkedIn. I am always right here. I am always on LinkedIn. I always check it. That's probably the quickest way to get a hold of me. I'm still going. I was on vacation last week because I moved. I'm still going through my emails. I'm down to 26 out of like 235 that I actually had to pay attention to.
Right.
So you can reach me, email alfredo.torres@dvs.virginia.gov, and I'll get to it as quick as possible. But I check my LinkedIn every day, several times a day. So there's a better chance of you getting a hold of me there. And real quick, Sean, I let me just say this. I'm going to try not to, because I've been picking on you. So let me give you some advice, because you said you're going to be doing the interviews. All right, I'm going to give you my 4 P's. And I'll make it quick. 2 P's before the interview, 2 P's during the interview. The first 2 P's, okay? Practice, okay? And practice means everything. Not just practice your answers, but also practice going to the sites. Practice talking on the on screen, because you can see right now it doesn't appear like I'm looking at you. It's because I'm looking at my phone, right? But if I look at the camera, now it appears like I'm looking at you. Something simple like that, because now that I've made eye contact with you, you're going to pay attention more. So practice your answers so that they flow out. Number 2, practice if you're going to in-person interview, practice the route. Practice and find out if there's street parking or garage, if the street parking is metered or free. These are little things that are going to impact you, okay? Second one is prepare. Prepare means find out about the job, find out about the company, find out about the person who might be interviewing you, find out about the clothes that you need to wear. Okay, if you're looking at doing an industrial, if you're going to be interviewing an industrial site, you might not want to show up in a suit. you know. So those are the two: practice and prepare, and then the two during the interview. Okay, passion and positivity. Be passionate. Be passionate. And I don't mean be like, oh my God, I want this job. No, but be passionate about what you're doing, about what you're looking at. Okay. And then be positive. Don't naysay anything in your past. When they ask you the inevitable, so tell me about some hard thing that you disliked or whatever. We switch that up. Tell me about a bad leader that you had. Well, a challenging leader that I had encountered. You see, we take the negative and we turn it into a challenge. Now, what do we do with challenges? We overcome them. This affects your mind, it affects your face and how you react, and it affects your body language. Because as we think about challenges, right? What do? We overcome them. Now I'm proud. Now I'm happy. Well, if I stay with that, tell me the bad boss you had. Well, I had this one guy. He was loud. Your face starts to, you're starting to tense up because you're thinking about the negative. So be positive. And last but not least, which you seem to do, and I got to figure out a way to put this into a P. Smile. A smile is the most important thing that you have. And I tell everybody, if it's the only thing you take away from talking to me, it's smile, because a smile sets the tone. A smile says, hey, I'm approachable. A smile says, hey, this is going to be pleasant, right? If I got on and I had this face, does that make you want to talk to me?
I think you had that face last time.
Yeah, well, that was because of the connection and everything. But if you have that face, that means this is not going to be easy. But if you smile, okay, this is going to be okay. We're off to a great start. So that's for you, Sean.
I appreciate it. Great knowledge right there.
Yep, absolutely. Alfredo, thank you so much for coming back in and sharing more with us. Appreciate your time, appreciate your knowledge, your insight, your expertise, and your willingness to help.
Yes.
And pay it forward.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I'll never stop helping. And thank you guys for inviting me back after the last debacle. And thank you to my phone for allowing me to connect without the distractions like my stupid computer.
That's right. So, we're gonna Dr. Soto back on his phone for sure too. So
yeah.
Yes. Guys, thank you. That's the show for this episode. Stay tuned. We have our next guest, Jane Babcock, coming up after this short break.
Thanks a lot, Alfredo.